I want to start by saying Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahushai, Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahushai, Call Hala Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, Call Hala Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone that tell me this doctrine of truth and sincerity. Shalom to the elect, the Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh, which means He is or He exists. By Hashem in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. We know His name to be Yahushai, which means He is the deliverer, He is the Savior for the Hebrew Israelites from the pedigree of the Father. By Hashem in the name of the Rakakwadash, which means the Holy Spirit, that's able to give us the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of who we are. If you're so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American, and other speckled bird, looking like the other nations, in your spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Hashem Rashai, then you could be one of elect. Shalom. We've been discontinued from our heritage because we went off following after false gods and false idols, not following the law, such commandments that was given to us by our forefathers. And because of those offenses, we were sent into captivity. But through our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach being that perfect sacrifice in the flesh to the Heavenly Father, He's been given all power to be able to sit on the right-hand side of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, to be able to open the seals of the Holy Scriptures, to be able to give the understanding to the very elect, the ones that would hear this word and we return back to Yahweh Shema Shai, and the things they say and the things they do, and would be able to understand the spirit of prophecy, which is the spirit of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach in His second coming, that there's going to be a time of great destruction, woe, sorrows, and mournings, and only in Yahweh Shema Shai there is salvation for the very elect. So we're praying that we're of the hopeful elect by giving our diligence to make our call and election short, okay, to be able to be saved. So I'm going to start right here. This is from End Time Headlines. It says, Big Beautiful Bill. Actually, it starts a little bit up. Joe Rogan exposes provision in controversial Big Beautiful Bill that prohibits state and local governments from passing laws regulating AI for the next 10 years. So the Big Beautiful Bill is executive order that, Trump is what, pushing through, okay, to bring forth what draconian measures, okay? When you actually go into it, I did a couple of lessons on it, and it's a 10-year deal basically. And what it does is the state and local, they don't have any rights, and everything is what federal. Okay, it's going right into Revelation 13:11, the draconian measures, okay, that they're coming with. Isaiah 10:1, unrighteous decrees, right? And the AI technology is to be able to control the people. Okay, you're gonna have these robots that are gonna be in, basically enforcing, certain rules. Okay, these super soldiers, right? And then you have what AI is going to be taking over people's jobs, and also what everything is going with digital, as far as a cashless society. The dollar bill is going away, okay? The dollar bill is going away, and everything is going into a digital society, a CBDC, central banking digital currency, okay, which will ultimately come with the implant, which is the RFID chip, okay, and it's being controlled by what, a blockchain, okay, which is their governance, which is what everything is digital. That's why the dollar bill is going away. They're not printing the penny anymore, which is going to lead to the nickel, the quarter, the dollar. Eventually, what the tangible assets are going to be gone, and everything is going to be digital. That's why they have Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, CBDC. Everything is what, digital, and that's all around the world. Because when they mandate this RFID chip, okay, which would be the hour of temptation, the sixth trouble, when they mandate it, okay, on the people, okay, ultimately coming into the New World Order, because this is the key, the RFID chip, to what, controlling the people, to have it inside their hand or their forehead, right? So there's a video, I want to let it play. This is an attempt to create an AI dictatorship over all support the BBB, but its extremely dangerous section must be pulled. So also, this is when this Big Beautiful Bill came out, okay, this is a 1,000-page article, okay, or 1,000-page executive order, okay, and in that 1,000 pages, it's actually, I believe, a little bit more than 1,000, okay, you have, as far as the law that AI, as far as the feds basically ruled the state and the local bidding, meaning that they have no rights, they can't vote on it, which is, it's all BS anyway.
What about this Big Beautiful Bill? Isn't there part of the Big Beautiful Bill that talks about the government being run by AI? I read something about that today, but I was on the way out the door.
Yeah, and the thing is, who's controlling AI? Who's controlling the artificial intelligence? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, when you look at the back of our bill, you have Novus Ordo Securium in the Latin, which means New World Order. Okay, El Pluribus Unum in the Latin, which means he Novus Ordo Securium means New World Order. El Pluribus Unum means one of many. Okay, and Anointos Queptos means he favors our enterprise. So these are all in the Latin. This is the revival of what the Roman Empire, okay, of what that beast, that deadly wound is being healed, okay, has been healed in what NATO and EU, okay, are what the beast, right, and then then you have what America, which is the whore that rides upon the beast, okay, that controls everything that goes on. So in that you have them pushing artificial intelligence, pushing biometrics, pushing facial recognition, pushing the tracking of people, okay, that they need to know where everybody is, okay, and through their artificial intelligence, they're able to, have these satellites, have these cameras, they have, your telephone, when you scan, when you go to pay for something, your debit card, your credit card. So these are ways of what tracking and trace you already. Okay, so also they're going to use these artificial intelligence, these robots, to also be able to control the people. Okay, so let me actually skip a little bit of this because you kind of. Okay, so this part right here, let's let this play.
Political subdivision may enforce any law or regulation regulating models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated.
So can we go back just a little bit?
Self-preservation. Relevant provision reads that no state or political subdivision may enforce any law or regulation regulating models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems during the 10-year period beginning on the date of enactment of this act. What? I'm going to say that again. No state or political subdivision may enforce any law or regulation regulating artificial intelligence models for 10 years. So great. This means that U.S. states would be blocked from enforcing laws regulating AI and automated decision systems for 10 years. Well, in 10 years, we have a God. Well, we talked about yesterday these two AIs communicating with each other, and then they switched to...
Okay, so going into the big, beautiful bill, that's an unrighteous decree on the people. Okay, so in that, they're pushing others, aliens and all sorts of other stuff because, again, they want people to be distracted. Okay, on what's actually really coming out, but really they're creating a siege on the people, a military tactic to have the people inside bowing down to their New World Order. Let's get a couple scriptures. This is Isaiah 10:1. Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievances which they have prescribed. So prescribed, they're bringing it through their legislation. Okay, and then they're even telling the state and local, you don't have no rights over this, going into federal. Because what is America? America is nothing but a corporation that's ran by the wicked, ran by Esau, Edom, the so-called white men, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, the Warburgs, the Schiffs. America, Babylon the Great, is their cash cow. Okay, whatever America does, these other nations will also follow. Okay, so woe, which means destruction, doom, or terror unto them that decree, which is a law, which that is, unrighteous decrees, right, that write grievances which they have prescribed. So they're prescribing this on what the people, okay, that if you have any type of different viewpoints, okay, you're going to be put into prison. You're going to be called extremists, radicalists, okay, and put into these FEMA camps. And we understand that this could happen to some of us, right, or some of us could be martyrs, okay. But the point is that enduring to the end, because when you go to the spirit world, who's there? You have a shot, okay, and he's going to be judging whether you stood stiffly for that namesake or you bowed down to the system and took the chip. Those that take the chip are going to get hit with the missiles upside their head, okay, the weeping and the gnashing of teeth, right? They would, get caught up in the bloodshed, the strife, and the calamity, okay. That's going to be coming the time of Jacob's trouble, okay. Take the RFID chip. Once you take the RFID chip, there's no repenting. And then the missiles are going to be flying on top of your head. Isaiah 10:1. And those who enact unjust policies. Who are they unjust for? The so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native Americans, because we're at the bottom. We don't have no power in this society. Okay, we don't have nobody in legislation or at the White House that could be able to help us. Our help is in Yahweh Shema Shai. But in Yahweh Shema Shai, we understand that these these wicked devices, as far as of the wicked, they have to be passed. Psalms 37:7. Okay, they're going to happen because they're prophecy. They're set up to, but the Lord has given us wisdom um, to be able to prophesy, to know the future already, to know what this end of the devil's going to be, as far as end of his rulership, and it's going to go up in smoke. Those who enact unjust policies are good as dead. Those who are always instituting unfair regulations, and they're always doing this, okay, because they have plenty of executive orders that are put to the side, that when the time is, they could be able to bring about other people, to have what? Total control over the people. Okay, CSB, woe to those enacting crooked statutes and writing oppressive laws. Okay, so they gave you the illusion for a long period of time that your vote mattered. Okay, now they're just showing their teeth and letting you know that your vote, it never did matter. It was just an illusion to keep you rocked to sleep. NKJV, woe unto those that decree unrighteous decrees and write misfortune which they have prescribed. So they're prescribing these events before they even happen. Okay, and what do? They deprive the poor of justice, right? Isaiah 10:2, they deprive, in the NLT, they deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy. Among my people, they prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. Yeah, so they take advantage of people when they're at a low estate. Okay, when you're in the ghettos, vadios, and reservations. Okay, because when these the staff of bread is broken, right? As far as food stamps, WIC, right? All these different government agencies that help, so-called help out the people, right? They're gonna cut that. Once they cut that, then they're gonna come in, okay, and say, hey, we have the universal basic income, we have these smart cities, but you got to take this RFID chip, okay? Isaiah 10:3. What will you do when I punish you? Yeah, because that punishment's coming down on Esau, Edom. When I send a disaster upon you from a distant land, to whom you will turn for help, when your treasure, where will your treasure be safe? You will stumble along as prisoners and lie among the dead, but even the Lord Yahweh's anger will not be satisfied. His fist is still poised to strike. Yeah, so ultimately that knockout blow to Babylon the Great and Esau Edom's rulership. Okay, but also to what our people that are what in the state of what being in America's, that American spirit. Okay, thinking that America is a good place, thinking that Trump is a good guy, thinking that Biden's a good guy. Anybody that they put in office is a cult of personality. Even what they got going on with Elon Musk and Trump, that's nothing but bread and circus. Okay, that punch in the eye or whatever, I believe he had a black eye or whatever, that also goes back to their rituals, also those satanic rituals. If you look it up, you have these celebrities that'll show up, they got black eye, one black eye or whatever. That's part of their rituals that they do. Okay, these satanic rituals, and then they're what they're doing is they're acting like Elon Musk is for the people when he's not, and Trump is not for the people either. Okay, they're nothing but cult of personality. Isaiah 32:5, it says, the day, NLT, in that day the ungodly fools will not be heroes. These devils are not going to be heroes. Okay, they're not going to come up and hey, they're just good guys. Now they're good guys all of a sudden. They are the wicked, and they are the vessel of wrath fitted for destruction. Okay, they were built up, okay, in their pride to have all these certain things to people to see them as gods, but they're just mortal men, and the Lord's going to show his power by destroying them. Okay, first by sending forth his prophets to be able to prophesy the destruction of this place. Okay, because it's not set in righteousness, it's set in wickedness. It was built upon sand, so it's going to be destroyed. Okay, this is Isaiah 32:5 in the NLT. In that day, the ungodly fools will not be heroes. Scoundrels will not be respected, and that's straight up what they are. They're scoundrels playing the game, laughing and joking. Okay, as mass people are losing their jobs, getting laid off. Okay, families are splitting up, people are deleting one another. Okay, and there's trouble in the city. Okay, and we understand that the Heavenly Father Yahweh brings that trouble in the city, and he uses Esau Edom, which is thy sword, okay, to be able to push the judgment on those that are disobedient to the Lord. Okay, but those that follow him, these scoundrels, these churls are not going to be able to touch us. Okay, let's read that in the King James Version. The vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. So liberal, they're always, we're here to help the people. We're going to get that act in. We're going to get that act in. We're going to do that when they come into being a president. They'll do that. We're going to do that. We're going to get you more jobs. And then what happens when they get in? Nothing happens, because it's already a set agenda. okay, about what's going to happen. New world order. Look at the back of your dollar bill. When you have the web, you also have the web that's in the dollar bill. Okay, which what is that web? That web is the currency. Okay, people get caught up in what debt. Okay, then when they're caught up in debt, they're trying to pay a one credit card with another credit card. Okay, they're taking out loans on their houses, on their cars, whatever type of assets that they have. They're taking loans out on it. Okay, and this leads to what where people have their hands on their head, basically walking around, and it creates what where people will do things. Okay, basically normal things that they wouldn't do because of what the vile person, because of the churl. Okay, and they laugh about it. They laugh at the death of the innocent, right? So Isaiah 32:5 again in the NLT. In the day the ungodly fools will not be heroes, scoundrels will not be respected. For fools speak foolishnesses, okay, and make evil plans. So evil going into what bad times. Eve meaning age and ill meaning bad. So age of what bad times. Plans that practice ungodliness and spread false teachings about the Lord Yahweh, that prive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. Yeah, because with this AI technology, it's going to lead to the RFID chip. Okay, that's part of what Neuralink is. Okay, or Neuralink is the brain implant. Okay, which they're pushing their signs and lying wonders. 2 Thessalonians 2:8. Okay, they're depriving the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. So they don't give you spiritual, bread because they can't, because they're profaning outside the temple. Okay, but they deny that the men of the Lord are on the highways and the byways. So they'll put out anti. You can't speak about the small hats. Why? Because they're in power. Okay, and they are in those small hats are what the wicked of the scriptures, the synagogue of Satan. Okay, Amalek. They deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. So also the food and the water that they give us is what defiled. Okay, you can read the back of it if you want, but again, never trust thine enemy, for like iron is rusted, so is his wickedness. The devil never changes. You have people who are lining up around these different shelters looking for food, looking for water, and these are people with jobs. Okay, they might have 3-4 jobs, but they're at the food bank. Why? Because of this devil. While this devil's traveling around, they're having big dinners, traveling to wherever they want, laughing, joking, getting these jets. Trump had got a jet, $1 billion jet or whatever from Saudi Arabia, doing background deals, artificial intelligence deals, arms deals, okay, spreading violence throughout the land. Revelation 6:4. So they deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. Okay, when you actually want righteousness, they don't give you righteousness. They give you defiled things. Okay, you want organic food, they'll give you that food, but it's not even organic. Okay, a lot of it, right? Because I remember like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, there was this guy. He was selling things that were organic or so-called organic, and then come to find out they weren't at all. Okay, again, we're in captivity. Isaiah 32:7. The smooth tricks of the scoundrels are evil. Yeah, there are smooth tricks to those that the Lord's not dealing with. To us, lest Satan should get advantage of us, we're not ignorant of his devices. We see exactly what that big beautiful bill is going to. With the AI technology, is going right into Revelation 13:16. He calls it all, both small, great, rich, and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hands or their foreheads. That mark is that RFID chip. Okay, that causes the Greek poeo, which means to form into fashion. Okay, to constitute, to carry it out, to execute it on the people. Okay, where the people have no other choice. But we understand that Yahweh Shema Shai has given us that straight path to go upon. Okay, that when all hell is breaking loose and these devils are coming in, taking us out of our homes or whatever the case may be, okay, the Lord's going to put up that standard for his elect, and we're praying that we're of that number, right? Isaiah 32:7. The smooth tricks of the scoundrel are evil. They plot crooked schemes. They lie to convict the poor. Yeah, they lie to convict the poor. Okay, and that's what they're going to be doing with the artificial intelligence. Okay, where they're going to be tracking everybody's movement. Okay, you bought this. You subscribe to this. You subscribe to be one a Hebrew Israelite. That's against the law. Okay. Oh, you're reading the Bible. That's against the law. Okay. See, then that's what's coming down the pipeline. They plot crooked schemes. They lie to convict the poor. Who are the poor? the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans. Okay, we're in the ghettos, bodies, and reservations. These devils, they're the rich men. They're good. Okay, they're good in this because this is their heaven. Okay, but we see it's depleting day by day, though. The smooth tricks of the scoundrels are evil. They plot crooked schemes. They lie to convict the poor, even when the cause of the poor is just. Yeah, and we're coming in in an upright conversation. Okay, we're telling them, hey, you polluting the ocean. It's not good, right? But what do? They keep doing it. Okay, they over here in California, you just had an oil spill. Okay, just oil just spilling in the ocean. Okay, destroying the again the animals, everything. Okay, and those are people's livelihood too, because when you go fishing and things like that, that's gone. Okay, because they constantly putting oil, and then who pays for that? Nobody. Okay, it's just in the oil. Then the animals are in the oil, right? They put barium aluminum in the air. Okay, why would you do that to your own society? And it shows you that this man is unjust. Why would you cut down trees when they create oxygen? Deforestation. Okay, they lie to convict the poor, even when the cause of the poor is just. So even when we're telling them you're about to get destroyed because of the things that you're doing, because they're not righteous, they don't care. Why? Because they are the wicked and they're set up for what? A great destruction. Okay, so in these schemes and these plots, okay, you're gonna have what Egyptian against Egyptian, class wars and civil wars. Okay, people are going to be fighting against their government because they don't trust in their government, because they're doing bills like this, the big beautiful act, and then they have a 1,000-page thing where people don't read into it until someone brings it out. Like these different platforms, they'll bring out certain information, and then brothers are able to catch it and filter through the scriptures to give comfort to the very elect. Okay, so these devils are being exposed. Luke 8:17. Second Ezra 16 and 18, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars and powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Okay, and we're at the beginning stages of that, where there's mass layoffs. Okay, government, spending is being cut. Okay, as far as for housing, for Section 8, for food stamps, that's going to create what? Class wars and civil wars. You already have a class war with the corporations against the people with those tariffs. Okay, which is what Revelation 6:6, a day's wage. Okay, hyperinflation. Okay, you have World War III, where troops are being sent over to what? Yahweh Shabbat, Yahweh's judgment over there in the Middle East. But you also have a war brewing here in Babylon the Great, which is America, domestically. Okay, our weapons of warfare are not carnal. Okay, but how we wound our adversaries is by bringing out these scriptures. To be carnal minded is enmity with the Lord. Those cardinal Israelites are going to be the first ones being deleted because they don't have protection. Okay, again, the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai said he's going to rise up to the prey. And those that truly trusted him, the hopeful elect, are going to stand firm on that rock. So when that storm comes in, we're good. The Lord said we have food, water, and shelter when all these things happen. When the hour of temptation, when Jacob's trouble happens, we're going to be good. Okay, and we believe in that. We believe in Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, we believe that these terrible times are coming because they're right here. Right, those that have eyes to see, right, and ears to hear. You got to be able to hear what the prophets are saying. Okay, and to also be able to see it. Oh, okay, that's it right there. Okay, so 19, behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish has sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor always be mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals, so food and water, right, should be so good cheap upon earth, they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even shall the evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And that's what's going to be growing upon the earth. Okay, food was once cheap, now it's beginning to be expensive. People are not buying everything. Okay, because they have to spend money on rent. Also, rent's going up. Okay. So in that rent going up and all these things, people are beginning to think about spending their money instead of just splurging. Because before it was just we'll just buy whatever we want. Those plagues. Actually, let me stay in this chapter. Those plagues are going to be on every side. Okay. I'll start from 37. Second Ezra 16 and 37. It says, behold, plagues draw nigh and are not slack. Yeah, these things are not going to be slack. And every day, if you're watching, Okay, people are getting laid off. Okay, people are struggling. You're having more and more complaints. You know, these Instagram or these TikTok videos, right? That brothers are catching and then filtering them through the scriptures. Every day, someone's crying. Okay, why? Because when the righteous in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn, and the people are mourning out. Why? Because the righteous are not in authority, which are the Hebrew Israelites, right? Second Ezra 16:38, as a woman with a child with the ninth month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb. Which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Yeah, they slack not a moment. Okay, and those labor pains, a woman has what? Contractions. Okay, those contractions um, are what? The famine, the pestilence, people being laid off, people fighting in the streets, sedition against the government. Those are those contractions, okay, that are coming. And what happens when a woman gives birth? Blood, water, screaming, yelling, out of control. Okay, and that's how it's going to be in what Babylon the Great, and really throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Okay, because it's going to be that Revelation 3:10. Okay, the hour of temptation is coming upon the whole earth. Everywhere where there's commerce, there's going to be trouble in the city. Okay, because there's going to be a mandate, and if you're not complying with the government, okay, you could be deleted. Okay, put into these camps because of their unrighteous decrees. Okay, 39. Even so, not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. The world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So it's those people that think, oh, it's not going to come to me. It's not coming to America, or I live in the suburbs. I'm good. It's coming right to your doorstep because the Lord is coming to judge. Those in the third, fourth generation, those that hate him and those that love him will understand Yahweh Shema Shai and will follow him down that straight path. Will be able to be saved. Okay, but we still have to, through much tribulation, we shall enter the kingdom. It's not going to be easy. That's that straight path. Okay, 40. Oh, my people, hear my word. So, who are the Lord's people? The Hebrew Israelites, so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans. Okay, hear the Lord's word. Right, the word is what from Yahweh. Okay, and the word is Yahweh Shai, which pertains to the salvation, which is the doctrine, the comforter. Okay, make you ready to the battle. Y'all, mentally and spiritually, we're ready for the battle. And we're praying that in that day, the Lord, physically will guide us and give us direction. Okay? Make you ready to the battle. So, again, to know why this is coming, to know why you're under the curses, to know who to call upon. Okay? The name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous run into is safe. The name of the Lord is what? Yahweh. Okay? And there's no other name whereby under heaven whereby you must be saved, and that name is Yahweh Shai. If you don't have those names, you are anti-Messiah. You're not going to get saved. Okay, and even in having those names, you also have to have the sound doctrine. You have to be of the elect. We're praying that we're of the hopeful elect. Okay, in those evils, right? So those bad times, that age of bad times, right? Be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So a pilgrim is a person that's on a long journey, seeking out salvation. So we're in the uttermost part of the earth, Babylon the Great, America. Okay, where the lake of fire is going to be, and we're seeking out our Savior, which is Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, okay, to be able to save us out of this impending danger, because the Lord has given us the warning of what's about to happen, right? That tingling of the ear, okay, that captivity to captivity, okay, that if you don't comply with their mandates, okay, this is what's going to be happening. Jeremiah 15:2, and it shall come to pass if they say unto thou, whether shall we go forth? So they're going to be asking the prophets, what shall we do? Right? Whether shall we go forth? Then they shall tell them, thus said the Lord Yahweh, such as for death to death. This is what's going to be happening. Because when they mandate that big, beautiful Bill Act, okay, that's another push towards what? Gradualism to the RFID chip, okay, of them having total control over the people. Okay, if you don't comply, we'll just arrest you. Okay, such as for death to death, right? And such as for sword to sword. So what's the modern day sword? The gun. And people are also going to be using whatever type of weapons that they have to be able to go in people's houses, because there's going to be a lack of food. There's going to be a great tribulation. Okay, from famine to famine. Yeah, when you go to these stores, right, we're already seeing it with the empty shelves. Okay, where these truckers, they're not picking up loads. And then the truckers are also getting laid off. Okay, because what the ports are, they're not ordering as much stuff because China is beginning to have an embargo against America, as far as they're not sending out as much things. In fact, China I believe, let's just say China, they're dumping these different countries, they're dumping the dollar bill, which is making the dollar bill, it's not worth anything. Okay, the dollar bill is not worth anything going into the digital currency because they need a great reset. So from famine to famine, such as for captivity to captivity, that captivity to captivity is those that are laid dissident or extremists or radicalists, they're going to be put into these prison camps. Okay, and people are doing it. They're doing it right now with ICE. Okay, where they're locking people up. Okay, with no cause. You have people that are actually citizens. They have a birth, whatever green card. Okay, but they're being deported. Why? And why is it only the northern tribes? Okay, as far as why is it only Israelites that are being deported? Then you have the Africans, so-called Africans, right, coming over here, so-called white Africans, right, coming over here to do what? Why are you letting in people but then telling other people they can't be in? That shows the perpetual hatred. If you have the spiritual eye to be able to see, Ezekiel 35. So captivity to captivity, these are these FEMA camps that are being set up, these detention centers. Okay, they're not just for the illegal immigrants. They're for all the people. Anybody that doesn't comply, captivity to captivity. Okay, that's why Yahweh Shem Shai is so important. I will point over them 4 kinds. So 4 goes into mercy, said Yahweh. The sword to slay. Again, the sword is what the judgment of the Lord. What's the modern day sword? The gun. Who is blessed with the sword? Esau, Edom. So he's Ezekiel 21:9 on down. That sword is being what furbished and is given to the hands of the executioner, which is Esau, Edom. And dogs to tear. What do they have? They had dogs to what torment us before. Okay, now they have robot dogs to torment what those that are disobedient. Okay, dogs to tear, fowls of the heaven. Yeah, because many people are going to be deleted. Those fowls, those birds are going to be eating up the dead bodies. Okay, and the beasts of the earth. Yeah, because these animals are also going to be hungry. Okay, they're going to be looking for food because they don't have no food. You have over here in California where they're seeing signs of animals that were in the wilderness. Now they're showing up in cities. Okay, so they're looking for what? Food. Okay, food and water. The beasts of the earth to devour and to destroy. Okay, and that goes right into Sirach 39. Okay, spirits created for vengeance, and it goes in the teeth of wild beasts, right? So this is coming upon the earth, and they are what Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is what causing it with these draconian measures. Okay, let me read a little bit of this. It says, this measure, if passed, would invalidate existing state AI laws and prevent new ones affecting states like California, Colorado, Utah, which have already enacted or proposed AI-related legislation. Isaiah 10:1. Okay. InfoWars' Alex Jones commented on the issue, describing the provision as an attempt to create an AI dictatorship by removing state oversight and potentially giving tech companies unchecked power. Okay. Jones, while expressed general support for the bill's broader objects, urged that its extreme dangerous section be removed in the Senate version of the legislation. His concern echoed those critics who argue that monetary could undermine consumer protections and local governance. Okay, their governments is their government online. Okay, when you go into it, right? So leaving AI development largely unregulated at a time when its societal impact is under intense scrutiny. Yeah, because people know what it is. Okay, because you have the internet. That's why they want to stop the internet. Okay. This big, beautiful bill, which was passed in the House with narrows 215 to 214 vote on May 22nd, 2025. Okay, encompasses a wide range of Republican priorities, including tax cuts, immigration policies, increased funding for autonomous weapons. Okay, and what are these autonomous weapons? These are the captivity to captivity. These are the things that are going to be picking up people. Okay, these are these spirits created for vengeance, right? Okay, autonomous weapons, right? It says weapons that can select and engage targets without human intervention, which means that what? They're going to be reading the facial recognition. Okay, biometrics, which they've been speaking about a lot. Biometrics is what uniquely identified to each person, whether it's the scanning of your hand or the scanning of your face. So these robots can be able to scan you and they can see if you are what, an Israelite. They can see if you are what, deemed to be extremist, because they're going to be putting people in categories. Revelation 12:10, that word accuser goes into the Greek word category, okay, which goes into the accusation, what they're going to be charging you with, whatever that they deem. If you believe in this truth, you could be charged with sedition, okay, speaking out against the government, speaking out against what the New World Order, okay, and you could be put into prison for that. That's why you have to count the cost, right? Weapons that can select, engage targets with human intervention, to utilize AI and robotics to independently identify threats, okay, and we are a threat. Why? Because we have this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We are a threat to this society, okay, just by what? Righteousness. Okay, why are we a threat? Because we're armed with Yahweh Shema Shai. We're armed with the armor of light. Okay, we're armed with what? This truth. Okay, we're armed with that physical, that spiritual sword. Right. Let me get that scripture. I was reading this a couple of days ago. Ephesians 6. Right here. This is the reason why, and this is why they tried for so long to take away the Bible. Give us the slave Bible, then give us those those pastors that are all about money, hucksters, okay, TD Snakes, Al Sharp Tongue, Jesse Jackass, then you got leaders right now that they say they're leaders, IUIC, Bishop Nate, okay, these leaders of Genesis, Deacon Assad, and brother Assad and Deacon Akar, okay, the leaders of Genesis. Right, you got these are so-called leaders of Israel. Meanwhile, they're coming with false doctrine. Okay, wearing hats. Okay, being straight up of the world. They're not armed with Yahweh Shema Shai. So what's going to happen when all hell breaks loose? They're going to be done. Okay, because it looks like they've already sold out as far as the things that they're doing, because they're basically doubling down on wickedness. They're trying to change what has already been established. Okay, which is what the truth, right? But they can't do nothing against the truth but for the truth. So this is Ephesians 6:13. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of our power, that we may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all to stand. Yeah, done all to stand. Okay, let's look up this word armor. Right, and this knowledge, wisdom, understanding arms you to be able to keep you safe, what mentally and what spiritually. Okay, we're not in this world. Okay, but we are here physically. Okay, let's get this word.
Strong's G 3833, panoplia.
Panalipa, right? So the shield is this word. When you go to Proverbs 30, it goes into that. The shield is the word. Okay, the sword, right, is this knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Hebrews 4:12. The word is a two-edged sword, cutting asunder, dividing whether you stand with righteousness or standing with wickedness. Okay, and if you're standing with righteousness, that are seeking men that are like thee, the Lord's gonna keep you safe. The helmet going into what your mindset. What do you focus on? Okay, what's your actual goal? The breastplate. Okay, you're protected by what Yahweh Shema Shai, again, spiritually. The Lord has given us the full armor. Okay, to be able to the name. Okay, the doctrine. Right, these are forms of what? Armor. Right, so NLT, Ephesians 6:13. Therefore, put on every piece of our power's armor, so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then after the battle, you will be standing firm. Stand your ground, putting on the belt of truth. Stand your ground, putting on the belt of what? Truth. The body armor of our power is righteousness. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news, so that you will be fully prepared. Yeah, fully prepared when these devils come in with great wrath. Because they're going to come in with those robot soldiers. They're going to come in with those super soldiers. They're going to come in with their drones. Okay? What else? I mean, the list goes on and stuff that they got. Okay, but we have Yahweh Shema Shai, which controls all that. Okay, that's our salvation. That's what we trust in, right? For shoes, put on peace that comes from the good news, so that we will be fully prepared. In addition to all these, hold up the shield of faith. Okay, faith in what Yahweh Shema Shai, to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Yeah, because they're going to be shooting at every angle. Okay, your livelihood, where you live at, your family. Okay, physically, as far as the barium, aluminum, all the things that they do to the air. Okay, and the pestilence. In addition to all these, hold up the shield of faith to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Put on salvation as your helmet. Yeah, salvation as your helmet, and take the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of power. Okay, and that's what we have. The Lord has given us power. When you go to Acts 1:8, the Lord said we would have spiritual power in the utmost parts of the earth. Okay, and that power of knowing who you are is priceless. Okay, it's in. Let me because not everybody has it, and more you see more how it's a treasure. Okay, it's a straight up treasure and a gift from Yahweh Shema Shai, right? Right here. This is Wisdom of Solomon 8:17. Now when I consider these things in myself, right? And this is King Solomon speaking, which we know to be Yahweh Shai. Now when I consider these things in myself and I ponder them, yeah, so you're meditating on them. My heart, so my mind, how that to be allied unto wisdom is immortality. This is immortality. This is something that, if we're of the elect, lives with us forever. Our names will live in the book of life. Okay? Wisdom is immortality. And great pleasure is to have her friendship. Yeah, great pleasure. Okay? Because it can be able to save you, can be able to change you to be righteous. Okay? In the works of her hands are infinite riches. Infinite riches. So whatever that you need, because, we believe, in Yahweh Shema Shai and salvation, but the things that we truly love, we might not even know what we truly love, far as we know that we love Yahweh Shema Shai, but the things in the world, because you're constantly being under oppressed, you're not able to enjoy anything, because again, this is not our rest. Okay, but those infinite riches, which is what? Not having no pain. Okay, seeing this devil in captivity, knowing that, being with your family. A lot of us, our kids are in different places, being able to have our children in one place, being able to have our land, being able to have Yahweh Shai glorified, being able to have these devils and shackles and chains. These are infinite riches, okay, that the Lord is promising those that follow him. And great pleasure is to have her friendship in the works of her hands, her infinite riches and exercise of conference, yeah, because the Lord has us in the room with the king. Okay, where the word of the king is, there is what? Power. Okay, and what is that word? The word is what? From the Heavenly Father Yahweh. And who is the king? Yahweh Shai. He's given us spiritual discernment. Okay, an exercise of conference. We're in the king's headquarters. Okay, as far as he, what I'm saying, we're in the room where the king is telling us what to do. We're not no more slaves, right? But friends of the Lord. Okay, exercise of conference with her. Her is wisdom. Prudence, yeah, you know what's going on, prudence. And talking with her, a good report. I went about seeking how to take her to me. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Okay, through the power of Yahweh Shema Shai, on how we can be able to hold on to this wisdom, because it's what? Immortality. Because what? To be allied with wisdom, once you understand what wisdom is, right? These are the things that you would do. Let's see. Yep, Wisdom of Solomon 7:7. It says, wherefore I prayed and understanding was given me. I called upon thy power and the spirit of wisdom came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones and esteemed riches, nothing in comparison of her. Neither compared I unto her precious stone, because of all gold in respect of her is a little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her. I loved her above health and beauty, because with wisdom it gives you health and beauty. Okay, and chose to have her instead of the light. Okay, and for the light that cometh from her, it never goeth out. So that light that we have, it never goeth out if we're of the elect. And Romans 8:30 goes into what? Nothing can be able to separate us from the Lord. Okay, and let me get this. Wisdom of Solomon 6:20. Therefore the desire of wisdom bringeth to a kingdom. Yeah, the kingdom of heaven, which is going to be here on earth. If you delight to be in the thrones and scepters, O kings of thy people, honor wisdom that you may reign forevermore. Honor wisdom. You have men that don't honor wisdom. Okay? No, I did that. No, I did that. Knowing that the Lord controls everything. You don't do nothing unless the Lord allows it. 22. As for wisdom, what she is referred to as wisdom, how she came up, I will tell you. I will not hide mystery. So the Lord's not going to hide what the RFID chip is, what the mark really is. Okay, he's not going to hide that. Okay, he's not going to hide the Lord's name. Now he did for a period of time, but now we're at the latter times where we need that name, which is the reputation of the Lord. Now the Lord is what magnifying his name amongst what the true believers. Okay, and the name is Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, and his only begotten Son's name is Yahawashi. And if you don't have those names, then you don't have the power of Yahweh Shema Shai. He's not with you. But I will seek her from the beginning of her nativity and bring knowledge of her into the light, and I will not pass over the truth. And the truth is the RFID chip is what? Here. Okay, and it's a matter of time before what they have at a certain event, okay, before it's what truly rolled out. So we have to what put on that armor of light. Okay, because when these military soldiers, these drones and things like that come down, what's going to be able to protect you? Okay. This is Psalms 27. Slakia, bear with me. Okay. This is Psalms 27 and 1. The Psalm of David, right? The tabernacle of David is being built up as the days of old. Okay, so the Lord has given us, let's read it. The Lord Yahweh is the light of my salvation, and whom shall I fear? The Lord Yahweh is the strength of my life, whom shall I be afraid? So you have a lot of people when these things start to come down, right? They're gonna trust in their government instead of trusting in Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, because our strength is in the Lord, right? So we're not supposed to be afraid because we know that the Lord's going to protect us. He's going to give us the mindset to be able to, endure. Okay, to endure hardness like a good soldier. Psalms 27 and 2. When the wicked, even my enemies and foes, they came upon me to eat my flesh, they stumbled and fell. So they're going to come with their militaries. They're going to, even our own family members are going to turn on us, but they're going to stumble and fall. Okay, though a host, right, an army, should encamp against me, my heart, so my mind should not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. Confident in who? Yahweh Shema Shai. But you have to know him. Okay, by what him opening up the door to what the knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Okay, who is the door? Okay, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is the door to Yahweh. Okay, to salvation. One thing I've desired of Yahweh that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord Yahweh all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yahweh, to inquire in his temple. Yeah, his temple is what it is what holy. Okay, it is sacred. Okay, if you're calling on Most High Christ blessed, that's profaning outside the temple. You are not in the tabernacle of David. You are in the tabernacle of what? Esau. Okay, you're following what his worldly views and his false doctrine. Okay. 5. For in the time of trouble, the hour of temptation, the time of Jacob's trouble, where resources are cut off, he shall hide me in his pavilion. A pavilion is what? A safe place. In the secret of his tabernacle. What is the secret of the tabernacle? The house. Tabernacle is what? A house, and is what does knowledge, wisdom, understanding. The tabernacle of David. Shall he hide me? He shall set me high upon a rock. Okay, and what is that rock? Yahweh Shai. And now shall my head be lifted up above my enemies round about me. Therefore I will offer in this tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing praises unto Yahweh by Shema Shai. So we're praying that our head is what lifted up. Okay, that we're able to be what beamed up in those chariots, to be what in that rock with the chariot of the Lord. Okay, the chariot of what? Salvation. Okay, those spaceships. We're praying that to be lifted up. Okay, because we see that what this is coming down the pipeline. Revelation 13 and 16. He calls it all, both small, great, rich, and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hands and their foreheads. Okay, and I went into, I just quoted it. Okay, but I'm going to show it through the Spirit. Okay, he calls it, right? And that's what that big, beautiful bill is.
Strong's G 4160. Poyeo.
To make, and that's just one executive order, because there's a bunch of stuff that's going on where they're going to deem people to be extremists, to be radicals, because of their views. They're taking away their constitution, okay, through their what amendment, and they're what pushing with the draconian measures to make, produce, construct. Yeah, so they're fashioning a society where everything is digital. Okay, when you go into certain stores, right? If you only have cash, you're not going to be able to buy anything. Okay, or what they'll do is that those that have credit cards or debit cards or whatever, they can be able to go first. Okay, they have more, open place registers. Okay, but if you have cash, it's going to be longer. That happened to me. I was at Home Depot, and I only had cash, and there was like, 8 people went above me. Okay, as far as they went in to go pay for their stuff because they had credit cards. Okay, and I had to wait longer. So they're doing that with certain things, like with the real ID. Okay, they're making it where if you don't have that real ID, you can't travel on a flight. Okay, also you can't go to federal offices. Okay, so they're making it hard on the people. No, I believe the people can still go, but you're gonna be held in the line now. So that goes into convenience. Okay, and people in this generation, they're all a microwave society. They want everything right then and now. Okay, they don't want to wait on anything. Okay, so this is gonna create again sedition against the government. Okay, because people are beginning to wake up. Constitute. Okay, and what is constitute? That's to bring it forth in their legislation. Okay, through these executive orders, they're going to say, "Hey, we passed it right there." Because one thing about their cabal is they have to show what they're doing. Okay, that's why you had the guy Schumer, right, which is one of the senators. Okay, and he said that if this bill passes, we will all die. Okay, that's what I did a video about it. It was on Dabu 7, and I basically filtered through the scriptures and did a video about it. Okay, but they're telling you if this bill passes, we're all gonna die. So they already told you what was gonna happen, but you don't believe it, right? You don't believe it, right? So and that's right on point with what prophecy. Okay, that these certain executive orders are gonna lead to a lot of people being deleted. Okay, so constitute. I just want the regular constitute to be a part of a whole. So in this case, what New World Order? Okay, everything is going to be centralized. Okay, so everybody's information will be on one thing. That's why they're pushing. Why Trump signed a bill for 500, I believe it was 500 billion. Okay, dollars for what a Stargate. Okay, which is what to be able to store people's information. Which the new oil is the new data. The data is what your information. When you go to Revelation 13 and 16, when you go into the root word of that, right, it goes into the word grapho, okay, which is your actual data, your information that they want. Everybody's information, right? So they can be able to have, like China has a social credit score. How many times you breathe, they want to be able to charge you for that. Carbon emissions, right, to track you how many times you can be able to breathe, right? This is really happening in real time. Okay, give legal or constitutional form, institution established by law. So they're establishing things by the law. That big, beautiful bill, right? Which is going to be passed. And it's not just about that. It's about all the other ones that are going to be passed. Again, draconian, Jacob's trouble. Okay, and they're going to be what? To carry out, to execute. Who are they going to execute it on? The people. Okay. And I believe I have a video that goes into that. Yeah, right here. It's called, so this is actually on my page. I'll leave the link in the description. It's just some videos that I put together.
About the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital.
Yeah, put together through the Spirit, and this is what they're speaking about, because that's what they have to do. They have to say something. They have to tell you before it actually happens. But the thing is that people don't believe it because they see it as dystopian. They see it as conspiracy theory. They don't see it as the truth, but it's right there. Okay, just let it play.
And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it as a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like say ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC.
There's going to be people of means who are going to travel, and then there's going to be people maybe of lesser means who might actually be able to use an Oculus or a Magic Leap or some other kind of device to travel to the same place, but from their own couch. But in many ways, it's actually going to create even more distance between those two people that psychologically, and I think that we've experienced this through social media. In many ways, it's brought people closer in certain ways, but actually created this remarkable divide because it's even more visible, actually, the divide.
I think whether we all like it or not, AI is here to stay, and AI is moving fast. In the last 10, 20, 30 years, there has been countries that had oil, and countries that had oil or other resources or other minerals did very well. The new oil in the AI world is data. Every country, every enterprise has data. Now, either you willingly give that data out to AI companies to train on, and hence you've given out your data oil well, or you use that for your advantage to improve it for your country. And I think that's where the opportunity is.
It will definitely happen. I was talking about 6G earlier, which is around 2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual, kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Independent carbon footprint tracker, which is what? The RFID chip. And you see all he had in his hands. Okay? So to be able to track and trace, and I'll leave the link in the description. Brothers want to do videos on it. That tracker is the RFID chip. Okay? Which is the mark. Let's go right here. The word mark. And it's something physical they want inside the people's hand and the forehead. Okay, you have the brain implant with Neuralink, right? Cicron, you have these different groups that have it. Then you have the gradualism of it, Metaverse, Apple Vision, Ray-Ban Meta, right? The word meta is a Greek word for the word forehead. Okay, the English word forehead, in the Greek, metapon is the face. Okay, and you go into the word meta, which with, after, behind. So what's behind your face? The brain implant. Charagma, right? 5480, a stamp and printed mark. So this would be the RFID chip, adulterous image. So if you take it, you would be an adulterous image. Graven work, yeah. So you go Leviticus 26:1. That word graven, okay, goes in the Hebrew word pashwa, which means to hewn or cutting, showing you that it's something physical. Okay, a stamp, yeah, they stamp you as what they are. You are a New World Order citizen. Okay, that you are what followers of what the anti-Messiah. 1 John 2:18. There's many anti-Messiahs. It's not just one. Okay, if you don't have the name of Yahweh and Yahawashi, you are anti-Messiah. If you don't have the sound doctrine, you are anti-Messiah. Okay, so that RFID chip, which is something, or that charagma, which is physical, would be a badge of servitude. Okay, so you'd be serving who? The devil. Okay, you would be a New World Order citizen, right? It would be any sign or symbol aspect of that marks or signifies someone as being in a state of servitude or bondage, slavery. Okay, because they don't want a nation full of thinkers; they want a nation full of slaves. Okay, and through Apostle Gabar always brings us out through a myriad of different contracts, like the birth certificate, the driver's license, right, the social security card. We already are slaves, but they want to increase in that by having that RFID chip inside your hand and your forehead. To do what? To make themselves gods. Okay, when they are just mortal men. Okay, what is a badge of servitude? Okay, going back to the 13th Amendment. Okay, showing you that again, this is not your rest. Okay. So that's the RFID chip, and the Karax, which is the instrument of the churro that they would use, right? The syringe they would use to be able to put that RFID chip in, sharpened to a point, a scratching, okay, a pail or a stick. So in past times they would do this on the city, right? To be able to form a siege, okay, which is siege is a military tactic to have the people inside bowing down to whatever the orders of those that are pulling off the siege. In this case, you have to take the RFID chip. They're cutting off the principal things: the food, the water, the shelter, your livelihood, separating you from families. You can't say what you want. Okay. So this is a military mount for circumvaluation and a siege. Okay, as you read right here, a military mount. What's their military mount? That's their government coming in and telling you, you better comply, or otherwise we're gonna, light you up, or whatever the case may be, take away your goods. That's why it says, uh, be ready. I read it earlier. Be even as a pilgrim upon earth, because a pilgrim again is just ready to go. Okay, we understand that these carnal things, things that we have in our house or whatever, those things could be gone. Okay, because this devil's going to be coming like a madman, sparing none. Okay, and he's forming a trench on the people by cutting off our resources and supplies. Okay, and making it, again, carrying out, executing it. Okay, where there seems like there's no other way. Okay, but there's that straight path, which is a position of difficulty. So you heard the one guy, he said the new oil, right? He said the oil people that have oil, they usually they're doing pretty good. Okay, and when he say the new oil is what? Data, which the data is what? The grapho. Okay, grapho in the Greek 1125. Okay, to write with reference. So everything that's being written down on pieces of paper is now being written on the cloud or on your phone. Okay, digitally, right? To write one, i.e., right? So this right here, information. Okay, what's a similar word to information? Okay, right here, facts provided, learned about something or someone. So about you. Biometric, uniquely identified to what? To you. Your facial recognition or your palm vein biometrics, okay, which would be in the hand when it speaks about the hand, right? So that is the data. Facts, statistics collected together with reference. So that would be what, who you are. Your carbon emissions, right? As they were saying, how many times you breathe, right? Your social credit score, okay? What if you're saying anything against the government, you're going to have a lower score. If you're saying good things, you're going to have a higher score, right? Your ESG, environmental social governance, where you can be able to go. That's why they want 15-minute cities, to be able to watch over you with cameras. If you look at China, they have cameras everywhere. That's coming to America. Okay, America, they do it also, but they try to hide it. Like, people got some privacy when they don't. Okay. So that's the grapho. So that's the RFID chip, okay, in a whole, right? So those that receive it, okay, we'll just get the word right hand, okay. You have the word dexos, right hand. It's just a metaphor, right? So and then you go to the root word deklamati, okay, deklamai in the Greek 1209, to take with hand, to receive. Why would you receive it? Because all hell is breaking loose. You don't see no other way. To receive, grant access, not to refuse. Yeah, so that's why it speaks about in 2 Ezra 16, they that give consent shall be trodden down underfoot. Because though they're going to take us out of our homes and things like that, they're not going to hold us down and give us the chip. It's people that are going to give consent because they can't take the suffering, okay? To receive a hospitality, people are going to see that as hospitality because they're going to be painting those 15-minute cities as good place. Hey, look at your family's over there. Look, this is your wife, this is your daughter, this is your son. They've already took the RFID chip. They want you to take it. They wanted you to take it too, Dad. Right? So these are the type of things that could be happening in that time. Okay, where they're going to use family members against you. But we understand that we have to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. Okay? That if someone's not meant to be saved, it's just they're not meant to be saved. Okay? And that's how it is. And we understand that. Okay, but if they are of our seed line, then they're going to be with us in the kingdom anyway. Okay, but not everybody's of the elect, and not everybody's going to be saved. To receive into one's family, to bring, what's their family? Their New World Order. Okay, to receive favorably, to give, favorably. They're going to be running down to these chipping centers, right? Just like they did in 2020, where they ran down to those places. They didn't mandate it. They just said something. They just said, hey, you should do that. It wasn't a mandate, but people did it. Or you lose your livelihood, so people did it. You didn't have to do it. Okay? But those that did, you see the results. Approve, not to reject. Not to reject. And why would you receive it? Because you think it's more favorable. You think it would be able to help you. You're seeing them as friends when they're not. Okay? They're deceiving you. Revelation 13 and 16. He calls it all, both small, great, rich, and poor. Who's causing it? Okay, the beast. Okay, the revival with the Roman Empire. NATO and the EU, and what America spearheading the charge of it. Okay, that's who's causing it. all both small, great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hands or in their forehead. So that word forehead goes into the Greek metapon, okay, which means the face. When you go to the root word of that, it goes into what the with after behind. Okay, with after behind, which your face is what? The brain implant, something physical inside your hand or your forehead. That no man might buy or sell. So when you go to the word buy, it goes into the Greek agora, okay, which is what? Assembly of what? People judging whether you can be able to buy and sell. The first guy on that video was speaking about it. Okay, they can deem something, even though you have the chip, they can deem something to be less desirable. That, oh, you don't need that. Okay, because again, if you never trust thine enemy, for like iron is rust and so is its wickedness. Okay, and also that word buy, right? When you go into word agora, it goes into you're going to be put on trial whether you can be able to buy and sell or not. Okay, and I'll look it up. Okay, because you have the first agorazo, which means to buy and sell, to do business. So those hucksters out there, they're going to have to take the chip, okay, to be able to, push their, everybody got to have the same garment, hey, we got to get these hats, buy these hats, all this, just buy our videos, Big G's, the Big G's new album's coming out, all this bullshit, right? Okay, and all that carnality is going to be thrown out the window. Okay, and if you didn't stack up your spiritual bank account, it is over. Agora, okay, in the Greek 58, assembly, especially of people, and I just spoke about that. For trials, we're going to be put on trial whether you can be able to buy and sell or not. Okay, and right there, they're going to have. Trump even spoke about bringing back, the firing squad, ways of basically executing people right in the public to push fear on people. Okay, for buying and selling, right? That's why all these stores are closing down, and then you have where these big box stores, they're basically just sitting there, because what are they going to be used for? They're going to be used for these FEMA camps and detention centers when the time comes. Okay, so Revelation 13:17, and that no man might buy or sell if he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, right? And I explained what the beast is. The number of his name is what? The 666. Here is wisdom. Let him and understanding count the number of the beast for the number of a man, which is Esau Edom, the nation of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the one that's in power. His number is 603 ^6. So you see it on Google, right? The Google symbol, you have the 666. The World Economic Forum, in the O's, right? You have the 666. You have what is that? The Monster drink, the 3 lines. That's in the 666. So and then they even toss it up, okay? Far as the Chi Psi Sigma, okay? And what is the Chi Psi Sigma? It's them anointing themselves on the left-hand side, right? The Chi, right? Saying they are saviors, okay? And the Chi is what them justifying it with their scientists, with their doctors, with their legislation, okay? This is the reason why we're doing it, right? And then the people that are enchanted, they're going to take that physical stigma, which is the actual RFID chip. When you go down right here, it doesn't have too much. You go to the root word right here, Greek 4742, the word stigma, which is the actual RFID chip, the prick, the stick, right? A mark pricked or branded upon the body of ancient into usage slaves. Soldiers bore the name of the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, okay? Cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general belonged to. So if you take it, now you are what? Belonging to what? To the devil. What's happening to this devil's rulership? Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is being circling the drain. Is being exposed, and ultimately it will be obliterated, okay, with fire and brimstone, okay? And if you take it, right, and what does it say? Punched, marked, pricked, okay, showing you physical, it would be a recognition of ownership, okay? That you would have that stamp inside of you, that when they scan you, right, that number would come up, okay, which you see today, which is the UPC code, Universal Product Code, QR code. Okay, when you go buy water or whatever, they scan it. That's what they want to do with the people. What would they be doing? Scanning facial recognition, scanning with your hand. Okay, and then what would pop up? The number would pop up. Okay, showing you that you took it. Now you have and they're even speaking about. They want to mandate. Basically when you log in that you have a digital ID, And how are they justifying that? By saying there's hackers out there and we just want to be safe, okay? Meanwhile, that's not the case. They put that in place to be able to, again, to deceive you, okay? To deceive who? The ones that are, the Lord hasn't woken up, okay? So let's read it again, Revelation 13 and 18. I'll read it in NLT. Wisdom is needed here. Yeah, wisdom is needed when dealing with the RFID chip. Let the one with understanding solve the meaning of his number of the beast. For the number of a man, his number is 666. And that is what Esau Edom and his whole system that he's bringing out. And those that fall for it are going to take the RFID chip and are going to get caught up in the lake of fire. Because there is a judgment for that. Revelation 14 and 9. And a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast, the revival of the Roman Empire, okay, NATO and EU and America spearheading charge, that is the beast, and his image, his philosophy, man on man, woman on woman, his 2030 agenda, his system, and receive his mark, the physical mark to stamp you that you are his badge of servitude. Okay, that word receive goes in the Greek lambano, okay, which means to take with hand. To receive his mark, RFID chip, in his forehead, so the brain implant, or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of thy power, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of indignation. Indignation is righteous anger. Shall be tormented with fire and brimstone. Those are going to be those missiles that are going to be flying upon Babylon the Great. In the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. The Lamb is Yahawashi. And the smoke of the torment ascended up forever and ever. So a long period of time. And they shall have no rest day nor night. Yet those that took the RFID chip, that bowed down to the beast system, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receive his mark of his name, here is the patience, yes, or the long suffering we have to go through to be able to be saved. Here are they that keep the commandments of our power and the faith of Yahawashi. So through all this, the very elect are going to keep their faith, okay, in Yahawashi, knowing that he would save us. Revelation 2 and 10, fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. That shall be tried. You shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So 10 days, it means it could be a number of, it could be 10, it could be more, it could be less, but 10 means perfection. Okay, who's the devil? Esau Edom. Devil means deceiver. Some of us could be put into prison. Some of us are going to be martyrs. Okay, we have to be tried, the trial and the testimony of our faith. And you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful to who? To Yahweh Shemashai unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So with that, call Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Shalom to elect Kwame Shalom.